What is up, everybody? Welcome to even more preseason cup coverage. I am Delthius. How's it going, everybody? Had some good streams today. We had Horace doing some coverage earlier. We had Tiki Gray doing some replay analysis. And I think we're ending the night here with a few more matches over here. So I've got one series from the beginner division, one from intermediate, and one from premier. I think we'll go ahead and do them in that sort of order. I think that makes the most sense. As always, please submit me more replays at toothandtailtv@gmail.com. I am in need. I have been getting some submissions, so that's super awesome, but I am in need for a feast this week. Since we are on the new patch, I'm a little bit light. And I also might end up streaming the feast tomorrow. Yeah, I'll go ahead and confirm that. It's going to be tomorrow and not Friday, because Friday night I have plans, but I still want to get to the show. So the feast is tomorrow night instead of Friday, and I do need replays, so keep them coming in. And without any further ado, let us get into it. And if you aren't super familiar with the coverage, maybe you just see me on and tune in. I did update under the Tooth and Tail events section. I'm trying to put down links to all the other streamers who are covering the event, so you can take a look down there if you want to very easily find out where you can see some more of the tournament. All right, let's get started. Game number 1 here. Spawning in the bottom, we've got Enamel. And their opponent to the right, Fabled. I believe both players are newer to the scene, so this will be really cool to see. And we've kind of got like two variants of some fairly meta decks going on here. Fabled is going for this owl, snake, wire approach. Meanwhile, Enamel's kind of got what in the textbooks, kind of counters that approach. If you can sniff out, that's what your opponent's going for, and you can hit a nice timing with the Boar and Falcon before they get rolling too hard, you're most of the time you're in pretty good shape. And actually, I think real quick, sorry guys, I had the volume a little bit too loud there. That should be a little better on the levels. Let me know in chat if anything sounds weird. A little easier in my headphones too. So 5-farm double coming out from Enamel, speaking of weird. And Fabled Scata looks like she did. I believe it's a she. Going into 6-farm double in response. And Enamel is moving in, but Fabled should have units out in time. 2 squirrels can actually pick off a corner pig like this when they're not protected, so maybe this will actually work. No, the squirrel coming in, I think it just barely won't get... Oh, no! I think it would have if Enamel target fired there, but maybe these reinforcing squirrels end up taking it out. Yeah. So that's a nice little pickup to kill the pig, but I think Fabled traded better in that engagement. So I kind of feel like things even out a little bit. Keep in mind, Enamel did have to delay their own economy in order to get into that aggression there. And let's see where the game progresses from this point forward. Pretty awkward map a little bit. There's a lot of this, double high ground, lots of trees and doodads and stuff in the way. A little bit of a tight choke here that can make for some really interesting, like, concave versus convex situations, or positions where one army trying to come through here maybe gets a little too clumped up against things like skunks. Could also allow for Fabled, if they get bold here, to like take this mill and set up some really cost-effective barbed wire, just placing like a piece or two right there, maybe over here to the side as well. It's a shame that neither player has something like balloons or even ferrets here, because this double high ground in the middle could be very abusive. And Fabled's throwing down some barbed wire, but I don't think it's in time here. Enamel is moving forward, going to be able to pick off most of this barbed wire in the process. It does provide a little bit of tanking, which is what Fabled needs to get this skunk up, but I don't think it's going to be here in time. Enamel continuing on with the aggression, going to get some real damage done here. And that barbed wire was just a little bit too late for Fabled, unfortunately. Nice attack there from Enamel. Let's see how they decide to continue forward. Just gonna go into more squirrels. And Fabled did take some damage here. Gonna go ahead and rebuild those farms. But they've got the skunks now, and the skunks will be able to kind of hold off this squirrel aggression, at least for now. 2 skunks, though, the power level of 4 skunks versus 2 is very, it feels like exponential more than linear to me. We have definitely seen in the past where, you can kind of overrun, like, squirrel skunk with pure squirrel. It has definitely happened. And now Fabled is trying to get into that double tier 2. But Enamel is just purely on tier 1, even throwing in a couple pigeons to help mitigate against the poison clouds coming out from the skunks. And gonna take an expansion on the back of this. I do like that kind of thing, like come in for the push and then expand behind. This is kind of rough for Fabled though, because ideally you want to be a little bit in your structures and in your pigs for the defense. But this high ground right outside the base makes that very difficult. Nice target firing there from Enameled. Gonna get those skunks knocked out immediately. And Enamel continuing to push forward, but Fabled might hold on here. More skunks and squirrels reinforcing. Enamel taking this frontline mill. I don't really like this frontline mill as much here. This does slow down the counter push. But the mill really wasn't tanking too much in that engagement. But Fabled's really gotta fight for this high ground vision, constantly. Making this very difficult. Really trying to keep these skunks alive. One of them went down. If Fabled can somehow manage to get up to those 4 skunks that they're going for, they'd be in a very good position to try to hold this. Now we hit the 5-minute mark, and this is actually kind of important. The 4 starting farms, one of them was one that got destroyed. So after the 5-minute mark, Fabled still has 4 farms left. And it's 4 pigs of 4 pigs. Now, I actually wouldn't recommend rebuilding on this that farm sometimes after the pigs have taken too much damage, especially when you have the expansion up and running. You get a little more bang for your buck just going ahead and rebuilding that pig on the fresh new field of wheat there. Fabled did have to sell down to just 1 skunk warren, but here we go. Enamel maybe gonna go for the flank, just try to avoid this barbed wire here in the choke, move all the way around. Oh man, this is brutal. Fabled is not home. Fabled, if you look at the mini-map, Fabled had went out and about on the map to scout, and this might just be game-ending damage. Warren's going down here, Pig's going down. Fabled's got nothing left besides a building pig on the expansion, and these skunks will clean everything up. And look at that army value graph, though. Maybe Fabled held that hard enough to kind of mitigate the economic deficit here. Fabled trying to go for a counterattack here. Does have 2 skunks. Oh, but burrows home. Sells off a squirrel warren. Needs to be careful. These skunks are up here on the front lines, not being microed. Gets back in time. Nicely done there. Keeps those skunks alive. Enamel still does have the better economy, but doesn't quite have the right unit set for this situation. Enamel has been doing a really good job this whole game, though. Trying to maintain the tempo, trying to stay aggressive. Doing a really good job of targeting down the core units, trying to make sure that they get rid of those skunks. And now we're in a very scrappy match here. I think it's still a little bit favored for Enamel. But we'll see if Fabled can come back. The longer this game goes on, I think the better it gets for Fabled here, as these additional pigs that Enamel has on the main base will slowly start mining out. Enamel's floating a lot of money. What's going to be the play here? Maybe thinking about it a little bit. Thinking really hard. Still thinking. There we go. Alright, Chameleon goes down. And Fabled sells off the skunks in order to try to get back into the game economically. So let's see if Fabled can pull a rabbit out of the hat here with these Chameleons coming up. The army that Enamel is putting together is quite strong. However, sometimes Chameleons do have a difficult time attacking into Warrens and pigs and stuff like that. But Fabled doesn't have the raw numbers. If Fabled can get up to like 15 squirrels or something before the chameleons hit, maybe Fabled might have a chance to hold it off. Fabled hasn't been able to get deep enough in there to scout that that a tier 2 is on the way. Both players at similar economies now. And I like this follow-up from Enamel. I think the chameleons are really smart in this position. Enamel knows the opponent's got barbed wire, could maybe try to cheese out a bunch of wire and try to eco up behind that or something, and the chameleons do a good job dealing with the wire. And number 2, chameleons are just good in general in these low number situations. But let's see, Fabled is moving out. Enamel is not in the right position. If Fabled can just take out this mill, all the squirrels are there, but they're not quite defending yet. Here comes the attack, though, or here comes the defense, rather. And yeah, the chameleons just going to do such a good job helping to clean up such small amounts of units. Now Fabled does know that there are chameleons in play, though. And this barbed wire means absolutely nothing to the cams. This looks like Enamel's moving in for the killing blow here. Gonna back off, though. Take their time. Fabled is feeling a little bit confident, stepping up here with the squirrels. Did pick up a few extra squirrels on the retreat, that was nice, but I think Enamel is about to return the favor here. And I think Enamel's got enough to just push in for the win. Let's see it. Coming in. These chameleons are just going to do such a good job on the front lines here, knocking out all those squirrels very, very quickly. And I think Fabled is going to have to tap. Nice first round. Very aggressive play from Enamel, but Fabled showing a lot of resilience there, too. Did not go down without a fight. Let's keep her going. Game number 2. Spelling on the left-hand side, we've got Fabled teching in the turrets this time around. And over on the right-hand side, Enamel. I think Enamel's got a similar deck as last time. Not sure if they had the lizards last time, but I'm pretty sure they had the rest of the units. Relatively big map here. I think that's generally good for what Enamel's trying to do. Looks like they want to get into those 4 skunks, you know, get the expansion rolling. And I might just fast forward a smidgen during some of these uneventful early games. 8 farm openings from both sides. I do like this map a little bit better for Fabled. You know, a natural for Enamel, that's really all you need 9 times out of 10. But taking this base here for Enamel will be quite difficult as Fabled gets established on these 2 bases. Ooh, Fabled going for fast snakes here. And Enamel is gonna get the scout. Good game sense from Enamel, only seeing that 1 tier 1 warring, knowing that there had to be more money somewhere. And going for mass lizards here, and mass lizards are very strong against most tier 2. I think the only tier 2 I would argue they aren't strong against, at least in this phase of the game, would be chameleons. And Fabled has the snakes. Now this squirrel snake defense can do okay, you know, as long as Fabled is kind of tucked into the Warrens. Oh, Enamel with the juke, though. Gonna come in and knock out that tier 2 Warren. That is huge. Now, Fabled can catch all these lizards. Maybe Fabled can try to do a counterattack here. But 2 Warrens going down, one of them being a tier 2 Warren, is very rough indeed. And Fabled really doesn't have the tier 1 Warrens available to do a strong counterattack. And instead, Fabled has decided to hunker down here and try to get up to double skunk. But Enamel is just producing so many lizards here, and this move out is a little bit ill-advised. Fabled is about to get caught here by Enamel and lose just absolutely everything, trying to desperately retreat with the snake, but these lizards are just so fast. That is a dead snake right there. And now Fabled is going to have to come home, lick their wounds, and hope they can hold on. But this is 12 lizards here against almost nothing from Fabled. Just a squirrel or two on defense as these skunks are desperately trying to get out. More damage coming in here from Enameled. Really trying to stay aggressive. I like this approach generally. I think it's pretty smart against in this like tier 2 meta that we're at. You know, coming in and trying to punish opponents, you know, for going for some of these slower, higher tech units before they can really get up and running. And this is simply too much damage. Fabled is going to hold on and fight it out. A little bit of miss micro there from Enameled. I think if their target fire was a little bit more on point, they could have killed that skunk, but they did manage to get that pig as well, which is nice. This is a tournament match, so Fabled is going to hold on. These skunks, though, out in the middle of the map by themselves, these lizards will be able to clean these up no problem. And I think Fabled is just going to have to tap. Even if they don't, I think Enamel is about to finish this one up here. Yeah, I love seeing this lizard style really trying to punish a lot of very quick tier 2. You can see that it worked quite effectively. Alright, let's see if Fable can bring it back here in game number 3. Spawning in the bottom right, needing a win here desperately. We've got Fabled and their opponent up top, up 2-0, looking to close out the series. Enamel. Alright, I set up some hotkeys. Now the question is, do I remember? Nope, that was the wrong one. Alright, there we go. I finally set up a cough hotkey. It only took me 3 years. That's the rate that we go at. I actually did, I updated my YouTube today as well. I'm going to try to keep that a little bit more up to date. I know the vast majority of people just watch on Twitch, but it is always nice having that archive available on YouTube as well. Ooh, Enamel getting spicy here. Gonna go for the 5-farm double. Only squirrels, though. And this is a little bit of a big wonky map and rush distance here, so Fabled will have plenty of time to respond to this. They've got the barbed wire as well, and they've got lizards. So yeah, I think just selling down to, I think 7 farm probably would have been okay here. But gonna be safe and go for the 6 farm instead, even building into a couple toads. And I think these lizards will be out in time. This worm will take a couple hits. Fable kind of running these units in one by one, though. That is going to be a problem here as more and more of Enameled units get together. I think if Fable just waited just a little bit longer for like 2 or 3 units to get together, you know, waited till it's rough to get that edge, because it would have been like on the precipice of that tier 1 Warren dying. Like, that's when you got to go in. But I think Fabled will hold this. Yeah, decent hold here, and keep in mind Enamel is still on 5 farms. So that early game was a bit of a wreck. I think Enamel got the Warren. There was a Warren that was right there. I'm not sure if Enamel got it or if Fabled sold it. I should have been paying a little bit closer attention there. But now we'll stabilize. I think that was a nice attack there from Enamel. You know, going for a 5-farm double on a relatively larger map like this with a little bit of a long rush distance is a little counterintuitive. You know, you wouldn't expect it. And oftentimes that's when rushes excel the most. Now, Fabled has drastically changed up the composition here. Got the cam boar. Looks like Fabled was going a little bit more all in on trying to counter these squirrels from Enamel. Or I'm sorry, the lizards. But there are no lizards this time around. However, I think Fabled armies should be fine to clear these up. These toads should get some decent connections. Actually, not quite. The toads weren't there on the front lines fast enough, but the lizard just, gets that farm. That's absolutely huge. Enamel with some serious aggression here. However, one thing that Fable does have going for them is the chameleons. It is a little bit difficult for chameleons to attack in to main base situations like this. I think oftentimes what you prefer is if they have like a fledgling expansion, you know, that you can kind of deny, but Fable's commander goes down. Oh no! The chameleon goes down for free. All these lizards will be cleaned up as well. And that is always feels bad, man. That's one of the most frustrating ways to lose, in my opinion, because that was just such a big advantage there for Enamel. It is going to be very, very difficult for Fable to come back from here, but never say never. Let's see if Fable can make their way back into this game. I think maybe the idea is to try to play defense, try to eco up where you can. You know, you can't be too greedy. Yeah, Mochaccino pointing out, it is definitely best to wait for the double cam before moving out as well. But Fable knows that they're in a little bit of bad shape here. Gonna try to get something done. Maybe if they can deny this mill, that would certainly be something. I think Fable should have moved in with the lizards as well, though, since they are so fast and Enamel's out of position. And Enamel's just gonna let it go for free, not even gonna contest it. And now Fable can get out of here if they so please. Honestly, I think they could take this engagement if they wanted, but gonna play the safe game, just gonna come home, spend the money, maybe get into double cam here. Yeah, going up to double cam. And this is kind of neat, like the double cam versus double skunk. I'm not exactly sure who wins that engagement. I'm kind of liking Enamel's position for the fight, mainly just because they have a bit of a lead right now. And this is kind of risky. 4 farms on that second base, especially after this second base from the opponent was just denied. Enamel has been put into this all-in position and is just going to wait for these 4 skunks before moving out. Now, if Fable can hold on, I'd love to see some emergency barbed wire here. Like, if Fable holds on, then they're in a phenomenal position to really start coming back in this game. But I think we need some barbed wire, like, right here, right now. Fable knows this attack is coming in and is just going to go for the engagement. Let's see how well these cams do against the skunks. Actually busting through some of these skunks pretty reasonably here. But a couple of the skunks still do remain. One of the chameleons was a bit late to the fight, unfortunately, for Fable. And Fable going to desperately try to muster up what they can for this defense. Gets those last couple skunks. That's actually huge, and Fable holds. It does suck losing this pig. But now Enamel is in shambles here. This main base is all they have mining. I'm curious if, yeah, they need to sell one of the tier 2 warrens. And as this game just gets longer and longer, this is looking better and better for Fabled. But Fabled is going to push in. Going to see if they can end the game right here, right now, before Enameled has the opportunity to get those skunks back up. Wants to get over here with this cam and get some harassment in, but this is very, very risky. That cam is going to be taken out by itself. So I like the concept. Oh, and this mill is actually doing a lot of good work here, tanking during this fight. So a bit of a blunder there for Fable to lose that cam before the big engagement. But let's see. I mean, if Fabled's lizards get out, and keep in mind, defender's advantage is very important. Fabled is not aware this attack is coming, though. Building more farms. And here comes a big fight. And yeah, I mean, these squirrels got a long way to go for the reinforcements. These cams are cleaning up these skunks very nicely. If this chameleon can stay alive, that'd be huge, but it does fall. However, this is still looking good for Fable. Like, 1 farm left here for Enamel. Enamel's got to decide if they want to all-in YOLO BOLO one more time or desperately try to start building some farms. Now, I did not realize, but Enamel does have this gristmill already established, which is good, but the economic advantage here for Fabled is absolutely massive. Fable's been doing a very good job this game of kind of like sneaking out that extra farm or two. Really, it was 4 farms at once on the second base, so I guess that is incorrect for me to say. But it really paid off. I was worried about that risk. And at the end of the day, it actually worked. Okay, so Fable building back up to that 8 farm economy. Gonna push out again. I'd like to see a little bit more careful control with the chameleons. Nabel does get to see how far behind they are. Let's see if Fable can actually punch in for the win. This is a little bit rough. Like, honestly, I wouldn't hate to see Fable just slam down like 3 more Lizard Warrens and wait like 20 seconds and then go. Let's see. Fable's actually going to get the boar. So just going to play defense for a couple minutes. And let that boar get out. And honestly, I don't think Enamel's got the economy to do anything about it. This tier 3 transition will allow Enamel to kind of start like building back into the game. But let's see, is Fable going to apply pressure with the army they've got right here, right now? Looks like it. Just moving in with these chameleons. And this is one of the more difficult parts of Tooth and Tail. Like, I feel like Fable played this lead very safely, but like really understanding when you can punch in and just win the game is difficult. And I totally understand why players, especially in the beginners division, will really reconsider that and really think, you know, do I have enough, you know, is it the right call to move in? Should I wait a little bit longer? There's definitely some options there. But Fable fighting back here, putting a point on the board. We've got a series now. Oh gosh, I hope the stream is not down. Is it just Ziggy? No, stream is not down, thank you. Let me actually... This is bothering me. Can I just a little bit there? Alright. Alright, close enough. Okay. Let's get into game number 4 here. Spelling on the left-hand side is Enamel. And their opponent to the right, Fabled. Alright, so this is actually kind of cool. We've reversed roles a little bit from the first game. You know, now Enamel is rocking the Chad late game build, the Owl Snake Wire. And Fabled has the Boar Falcon approach to try to combat that. That's kind of really funny that when both players went for one of these, like the other one was available. Like I don't think the Boar style here is just to counter this Owl Snake, but it does really nicely in that role. But it's still a solid deck regardless of what the opponent's doing. I like to see some of these matches without skunks too. You know, skunks are very strong in the meta right now, but players are experimenting more with toads, with chameleons, since those units just got buffed, and toads can do a pretty good job of getting that AoE in. And I'm honestly, I for one accept our toad overlords. Like I'm excited to navigate through the toad meta personally, because it seems really strong, but in my opinion, it also seems a little bit micro-intensive, and it seems like there could be opportunities for counterplay, you know? And I think that's what's exciting for me about it. Like, trying to, you know, let's say you have, like, Squirrel Lizard, the opponent has Squirrel Toad. You might do something like build just 3 lizards, right? And they have, like, 9 toads. And the guy with 9 toads is obviously going to want to get those big hits, but you can try to like buffer with your 3 lizards and get all those extra toads to explode on them, you know what I mean? Or we'd even seen in the past when toads were meta players would use chameleons in just low numbers. Like, the opponents started doing a lot of toads. Like, you get the chameleons to get out there and kind of block for you. So I'm curious how that's going to go. Yeah, I do need to fix that. People have complained the past couple times I've been live about the stream quality. Not that it's bad. The stream quality just doesn't have options. I do hear y'all, and I will see if I can investigate it next. And I know I'm memeing a little bit in unit discussion, but I don't know. Like, I honestly don't think things like snakes and skunks really need drastic nerfs. I think we need to kind of wait a little bit longer and see how the meta plays out. See if people come up with creative answers. It's still a very, very fresh meta. I mean, this patch hasn't even been out a week yet. So, you know, with things like Toad builds being more and more relevant, you know, Toads might become this tier 1 unit that can really do the business to a lot of the tier 2 units, you know, which could be fairly exciting. Now, in this match, we've got a little bit of a macro game on our hands. Fabled here has got the superior economy, going up on 2 bases, going into Falcons at the moment, and has Fabled really got a good opportunity to come in and scout. Hasn't in the meantime, but what they've seen so far is just tier 1. So, in general, these Falcons are better off against the tier 2, but I do like that Fabled is building a lot of lizards here to help kind of buffer the front line for these Falcons to theoretically do all the damage in the back and stay pretty fairly protected. However, I am getting a little bit worried about these Toads here for Enamel. I think Fabled really needs to scout the Toads. And again, maybe try, I mean, you could just go the same Toad numbers. You could try to be the player with the more Toads, or you could do things like just go into 3 Toads and try to get your 3 to trade with their 6, you know, stuff like that. Oh, right. Fabled is going to try to punish this expansion attempt from Enamel. Will have to just desperately sell off all those farms, loses the mill. And is Fabled going to try to take this engagement or try to get the hell out of Dodge? Ooh, these Toad Connects actually aren't... Oh, well, now they are. I was going to say, weren't the best because they're only hitting a few of those lizards as they're kind of running through. And now Fabled is desperately trying to get home with these couple extra Falcons. And yeah, I think Fabled just really needs some Toads here to round things out. However, Fabled's just got such a large economic lead. Like, yeah, that engagement was a little bit rough. You know, those Toads got some good connections, lost a few Falcons there. However, denying this base was so huge, especially since we just hit the 5-minute mark. I mean, Fabled is just miles ahead in economy now, even going for a 3rd base here. Fabled looking to deny that expansion again, but Enamel has not taken it. I think Enamel is looking for one big last hurrah here and has got one scary army. A ton of squirrels, 6 Toads. Actually, those Toads not connecting super well yet. More Toads are coming in. All these Falcons in the air trying to gun down the Chameleons. Enamel actually stealths the Chameleon. Well, no, he doesn't. Well, there's nothing for them to attack on the ground. But the problem here is it really doesn't matter unless Enamel can just push in for the kill move. Now, this follow-up army might be too strong. I think just having the 1 tier 1 here is getting really punished by the lizards. Like, Fabled is just so far ahead. Yeah, and I think Enamel just had to go for it there. And they might have been able to do it, to be honest. Like, Enamel had a pretty heavy army lead there. So I think backing out was a mistake. I think if Enamel would have come in this way and hopped on top of those lizard warrens, they might have just won the game. But again, I don't think it matters how cost-effective Enamel is being in these trades, because Fabled's economy is just so far ahead. So this is very rough for Enamel. They got 30 seconds left on the clock, but the problem here is after they start engaging, look at this, the food count is going to go low, so I think Enamel's idea was, hey, I can fight, and then I can, you know, use this mill to build a warren and stop myself from starving. But it's not going to happen. For one, Enamel loses the fight there. Even though Enamel was very cost-effective, and I think arguably had the better army comp there, that was just a game of economy. Fable did a really good job transitioning into a strong economy, denying the opponent from expanding, and just staying there. So now we have reached the hype match here. Match number 5. I love this scoreboard, by the way. Big shout out to Dizon, man. Dizon did a ton of work behind the scenes for the Championship Cup. Really made some like clever HTML type things that would like automatically bring up the players' names and their like Discord icons and stuff like that. We aren't really utilizing all the bells and whistles here, but I still think that that scoreboard is very sharp. Okay, match number 5. Let's get into it. Spotting in the bottom left, we've got Fable and their opponent to the right, Enamel. I don't know, man. It's a really exciting time for Tooth and Tail. Like, there's a lot going on. We've got this event happening, and we are in the preseason right now. So if you're like a newer player and you want that, my big 2 pieces of advice, if you're a new player, is get in the Discord 100%. The Discord is almost like a requirement for this game. And number 2, like, really don't be shy about joining some of these events. Oh, hold that thought. I'm trying to talk my way through the early... Enamel! Alright, that must have been a mistake. Oh my god. Enamel is about to be my hero, dude. If he was going to go 4-farm Falcon. Mishi actually used to do a like 4 or 5 farm snake harassment build that was really oppressive. Kind of fun, you know, get that snake out so early. It's got a lot of HP. It can harass very easily. But it still goes for the 5-farm double. Fabled is aware, and Fabled will be just fine here. And this opening is going to be good for Fabled. Yeah, Enamel should not commit to this. Maybe they will. I mean, Lizards are not the best on defense, and these Warrens are actually placed in such a position where Enamel can pressure them without direct engaging. It is going to pick up that Warren. That's actually really big. Fabled here needs to do some target firing. Needs to make sure to clean this up in flying colors. And desperately get back home and build some more Tier 1 Warrens. But yeah, if you're newer from the scene, I know we just got a lot of coverage from Day 9 streaming it last week. You know, get in the Discord and don't be afraid to join the events. Like, we're in the preseason cup right now, but once 2021 comes in, I think we're going into TnT Championship 2021. And what's really fun about kind of newer events, this has been a theme in most events we've had lately, is there's different divisions, right? So if you're a beginner, you can just play in the beginner division, and you don't have to worry about guys like Haraloo or Tiki Gray just running you over. However, that last attack from Fabled, although well-intentioned, was a little bit of a blunder here. Now, Enamel has a critical mass of squirrels to try to get something done here. 1 pig already falls. Fabled will be able to hold. Losing that pig is a little rough. However, Fabled does have the better economy and does have more Warrens than the opponent. And Enamel investing 60 food into this mill is actually kind of a big commitment at this phase. Yeah, Enamel's all in on this. And again, this one Warren, really good job from Enamel. I think Enamel has been showing some really good game sense on staying very aggressive, trying to punish the opponent as much as possible throughout this series, and constantly keeping Fabled on the defense here. But it looks like things are going to settle, and now Fabled does have the Lizard advantage. This is a great opportunity for Fabled to get in here and return the favor. Going to jump in, going to get that Warren, but loses a lot of Lizards in the process. However, I think Fabled is kind of okay with that trade. Fable coming in for some more aggression here. Getting a little bit done. I like this kind of testing the waters and that sort of thing. But here come the Toads, and I think one thing that Fable did incorrectly last game was that they didn't utilize that secondary tier 1 to help combat the Toads. And in this case, it is Fabled's own Toads, right? So that's an adjustment I'd like to see. Going into the cams here. Modern Toads aren't as AoE-centric as they used to be. They used to just straight up delete like a lizard pack completely. Now, modern Toads deal more single target damage. Still very effective for the AoE, of course. But I think in the perfect world with your Toads, like what you want to do is you want them to get that big single blast on like the enemy's tier 2, like on their skunk or something. And then the AoE just kind of hits all the tier 1 around it. Alright, Enameled moving in for a push. This has been a very aggressive game so far. Fable did manage to get one of these chameleons up and running. Is gonna try to contest this. And the chameleon tanks a lot of damage there. Knocks out a couple of those Toads. That was a little bit of an awkward pathing for the lizards on defense here. And a lot of people are kind of curious on like, you know, why should I ever run squirrels when lizards seem to be the better unit pound for pound? And I think situations like this really show you where squirrels would kind of be preferred. Like, squirrels are much better on defense, you know, since they can kind of hide in the warrens and stuff. So looks like Fabled is going to lose, about to tap out, just kind of wanted to go in and see what the opponent had. No chance to tap, though, as Enamel blows up the mill there. And really cool series, really close series. But Enamel ends up taking it. Alright, that means we are going to go into the Child versus Horus next. I'm excited for these matches. The Child has always kind of been a very solid player. He's been around for a very long time, basically since the start, if I remember correctly. And meanwhile, Horus, I feel like, is playing really strong lately. He's got some cool, creative builds that they've been bringing out. I've had a lot of fun playing against them on the ladder. Also, a fantastic streamer, by the way. I was really impressed watching Horus do some casting earlier on. So if you are not following Horus the Holy's channel, please go give that a follow. Great caster, also covering the preseason cup here. And alright, let's hop into it. Oh wait, we are in intermediate now. There we go. Perfectamundo. Alright, guys. The Child versus Horus. Yeah, Fabled, you play great. I think they're... Hang on one second. In the bottom left, we've got the Child, and their opponents at the top right, Horus. You know, I could definitely point out some things for, you know, room for improvement, but I think that's the fantastic part of RTS, you know. You've got to really try to stay objective and think about, you know, how can I improve, what I did wrong there, and that's just a very important part of the learning process overall. Yeah, I do think you played very well. And meanwhile, Child going for 4-farm double here. I love this deck out of the Child, man. This is like some old school stuff. Super tier 1 heavy. You know, got the Skunks to kind of hang out in the mid game. Got the Falcons if this ends up going to the late game, but I don't think the Child wants this to go to the late game. Yeah, always feel free to send me replays, toothandtailtv@gmail.com. And I'm happy to cast your matches, maybe some wins that you're proud of, or some losses you want some input on. And this attack from the Child's actually working very well. One pig goes down already. Horus not quite able to get up the right amount of units they're looking for to defend this. I don't think I like the Toads to defend this. I think maybe the just 2 Lizard Warrens would have been better. But again, this is one of the areas where it's a little bit difficult for Lizards. They are not the best units on defense. Tiki Gray also just started doing a replay casting show. That's really more centered on high-level analysis. You know, I try to be fun and have a good time with the feast. You know, I think I give out some decent advice too, but the general purpose is more of like entertainment. The child keeping this aggression going. And is going to pick up some more pigs, and I think this is just too much damage here. This is a tournament match, so Horus is going to hang on. Yeah, it looks like Horus did end up ditching the toads and getting into the lizards. But yeah, killing that last pig there. There's only 2 pigs left. I think Horus is going to have to tap. Probably would have tapped earlier if this was a ladder match. But this is a tournament match. And you know, that's one thing we've been seeing a lot more lately as well. I've been experiencing it a lot on the ladder. Like, people are not afraid to rush. And that rush, I mean, just dealt game-ending damage there. See you later, Mocha. And now Horus is just in shambles. Again, I think if this was a ladder match, Horus probably would have tapped. But this is a tournament. So I totally understand why Horus is staying in. You know, if anything else, maybe Horus can try to just eke out some more information. Like, for example, Horus sees that the child has toads, right? That is something Horus wouldn't have known if they tapped earlier. But these squirrels are just gonna doof down this mill. Very quick, aggressive game. A nice, cheesy opener from the child. It's gonna grab him the quick victory. I need to fix some of these. I gotta do a few things for the stream. Like, the size of the names aren't quite right on the scoreboard here. I really need to fix the quality thing. I want to make sure people can watch it at any of their quality options. Dude, these bots have been out of control lately. Let me see. Banned. Nice. Got him. Get out of here, bot. Okay. So nice quick victory there for the child. And we will head into game number 2. Spy in the bottom left. Keeping that same deck. We've got the child and their opponent to the right. Changing it up this time around. We've got Horus. Squizzard coming out here from Horus. And historically, Squizzard was actually really, really good. I'm curious to see how it fares this match. Again, I think what might end up happening is Horus just might have to use a couple of, you know, kind of go one or the other. And use that secondary tier 1 to just build like 1 or 2 Warrens of. Try to get them into the toads if the child goes really crazy with the toads. But Squizzard used to kind of be a nice way to deal with opponents going for like a tier 2, like a squirrel skunk push. You could actually deal with that really effectively with just kind of equal food value of Squizzard. But I'm a little bit more pessimistic on how Squizzard will fare in the 4 skunk meta. I think once you get up to those 4 skunks, the lizards really start having a harder time. For one, getting the full surrounds, because if all 4 skunks are standing next to each other, it's hard for all the lizards to find the tiles to actually get that surface area. But that is a lot of theory, and what we've seen out of the child so far is aggression. He's got a ton of the tier 1 in the deck. I like that he's still got the moles. We did see the moles earlier on Horus's stream. Still kind of do a thing, you know. Still be nice for some timing pushes and some aggression. And looking at the child's deck, I think that's exactly what he wants to do here. I'm curious if the child will really get up to any tier 2 at all, or if they're just going to spam a lot of tier 1 and kind of hope the opponent like tries to expand or tries to get into double tier 2. I think getting that double tier 2 in the early game is very, very strong. Not just in 4 skunks, but any way you want to slice it. I mean, I think 4 cams is good, or skunk cam, or skunk snake. Really any combination that you so desire. But I think, especially if you're somebody playing super aggressive, there might be a little bit of a window to get something done if the opponent goes for too many tier 2 in the early game. But however, Horus's build so far is very safe. Just getting into that single tier 2. And the child is looking for some aggression here. And I like just the 3 lizards. Oh, but is this the second tier 2 going down? He just sold a tier 1 Warren. I think the intent was to get into that second tier 2. And the child's attack just comes at this time where unfortunately Horus was saving up the money for that second tier 2 and just sold a tier 1 Warren that they desperately needed at the moment. The child's got that mole Warren here on the front lines to help reinforce, but the child's commander does go down. However, it does matter a little bit. This mole Warren will get taken out. Oh, actually, the child's able to keep it alive. And if the child's commander didn't go down, this tier 1 Warren right here already would have been knocked out. These cams just not having enough supporting units to really be strong here. And the child just might have enough momentum to keep the pressure on. And this is what's so great about this heavy tier 1 style. I mean, you get the new reinforcements into the battlefield so very quickly. And you can just muster up this new army, immediately and just keep sending in waves and waves. As it takes the 40 seconds for the 2 tier 2 to rebuild, you just aren't given that time. And the child with some nice attacks here, but I do think what is really important to note is I think the reason this worked as well as it did was that Horus had sold off a tier 1 Warren in order to transition into double tier 2 right before the attack came in. That really took a lot of the wind out of the sails of the defense. And I think when you see that many tier 1 as well, trying to get into multiple tier 2 is very difficult. But it's like that holy grail. If you can get there, man, if you get those 4 cams out, it is just going to be so strong. So it is quite tempting. But I think the child just takes it from here. Let's see if Horus can manage to hold on. But even if they do, so much of the economy is already in shambles. Unfortunately here for Horus, a couple of the starting farms were farms that did not get destroyed. So if Horus had that little better of RNG, and that's not something you can depend on. How do I put it? I don't think it's the RNG hurt Horus right there, if that makes sense, as much as it could have helped them. Because they would have been on 4 farms versus 4 farms after that 5-minute mark. But really good aggression coming out from the child there. Taking that nice win. The panic wire. Yeah, man. Panic wire is real. Alright, game number 3. Let's go. Spawning in the bottom, we've got the child. An opponent to the left, Horus the Holy. Alright, Horus bringing out a totally different style here. Got the ferrets, got the wire, and the mines. Meanwhile, the child just sticking with that same deck. And again, I feel like a broken record because I bring this up so often, but it is really cool to see how different players approach the series. Do you stick with one deck that you've practiced a whole lot, or do you try to bring out multiple compositions? Honestly, I think that kind of comes down to how much you get to prepare for your matches. If you're a little bit casual, only get to play a little bit of ranked here and there, it's probably smarter to just go ahead and stick with the one composition you're practiced with, right? Whereas if you're somebody who gets to play a decent amount of the ladder and you can test out various things, I do think you have a distinctive advantage changing up the compositions from match to match. There are exceptions to that. I think the meta is a little bit too young to kind of crown the holy grail composition. We have seen players like Airlu and this guy in the past, you know, kind of champion that approach. But I think the difference here is that those were in really established metas, right? Where you essentially can say, all right, I've put together this composition, and for these reasons, it is very powerful in this current meta. The Child trying to get some mole aggression going. Nice wire here from Horus. And I think this was on the back of the Child scouting that very quick tier 2. Typically, it is slightly risky to go 8 farm single tier 1 into tier 2. However, I too totally understand why players would be more inclined to do so on this patch, since the moles did get nerfed. You know, moles are typically what can punish that, right? Like, if you don't open up 8 farm double, you can get punished by an opponent who has the moles and can put on the aggression. But I think it totally makes sense in a lot of situations, especially from Horus's point of view. You know, the map is nice and large. Most likely your opponent doesn't have moles because the general consensus is that they aren't so good at the moment. So it makes sense to try to get out that quick tier 2. And Horus trying to get up to this double skunk composition. You know, the 4 skunks, very, very strong. And I think that's a nice way for a variety of styles to buffer being greedy, you know. Because it is really hard to attack into 4 skunks. I'm interested, as the meta continues to develop, if people crack that code effectively. And they're like, okay, with this composition, you can bust in on a 4 skunk defense and just knock it out, no problem. Maybe it's double cams, maybe it's skunk cam, maybe it's skunk snake, maybe it's mass lizard, you know, whatever it is. But I think for now, the 4 skunks are pretty nice. And I like how the Child is approaching this. He's like, all right, you're going to go for 4 skunks, I'm going to go for 4 falcons. And I'm curious if, you know, the Child knows that the Horus set up full second base sat. The Child could try to do something like bust through this wire with moles. I love this harassment, by the way. And Horus really doesn't have a whole lot to contest it. It's only 1 falcon, so these squirrels will be able to deal with it. But as this falcon count comes up, I mean, Horus did sell off that tier 1 to get that additional greed. Now, keep in mind, Horus does have a much superior economy at the moment. Here we go. Now the Child comes in and builds those 4 extra farms there. Crack that Toad. Yeah, Toads could be it for sure. I don't think it's unbeatable, but I just think it's a strong opening to be greedy with. And right now, people don't have the best response. But yeah, I mean, it might just be something like Mass Toad. You know, these 4 falcons seem okay. A couple of them did go down there, though. Dude, Horus is so turtled in here with the defense, with the falcons. The Child does have moles, and the moles can attack the wire, but with that many wire, do you really want to risk trying to bust through the moles? Meanwhile, Horus is trying to play the falcon game. Going into Mass Falcon, and we're just going to kind of have a race to who can put together the more superior air army here. The 4 Toads coming in from both sides. Now, the big thing that Child has going for them here is Horus doesn't really have a third base option. Horus got away with that really greedy early game with this barbed wire skunk defense. But Horus has got to get out on the map. And Horus doesn't necessarily have to kill the opponent, but Horus has got to at least say, like, the spot that they're standing right now, like, that is Horus's territory. You know, if the Child controls this high ground, then he just controls the entire map. But Horus is slamming through here still. All the skunks alive on the ground. The Child's gonna have to pack up and sell what they can. Now, getting additional reinforcements for Horus is gonna be difficult. You can see a lot of those tier 2 warrants are deep in the red. 10 farm economy is nice to try to support this. as more and more Falcons are flying out. And it's hard when you're trying to stay on the front lines to have the time to go home and sell. Like, I think Horus knows that they need to sell off, like, at least one Tier 2 Warren here. And you can see that they tried to, but you just don't have the time, you know, while you're on the offense. But there are just too many Falcons in the sky here. And I think Horus just wins this. Falcons are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, razor's edge kind of unit, you know? It can swing so fast when you get Falcons in these high numbers. You know, you take the engagement and your opponent's got, and you're both going for a lot of Falcons and they've just got a few more than you. It can really, really hurt. And I like this from the Child, this last-ditch Hail Mary effort here. Just going to build into a ton of lizards. But that's where the skunks come in. The 4 skunks on the ground will help buffer and support and tank for the Falcons in the air. And it's a shame for the Child. There really isn't like a backdoor base race option here. Alright, Horus is going to move in. And now the Child's units are kind of stuck. He's got half his army over here. He's got half his army from the top. He's going to get a good concave. But again, just with the raw firepower, the raw numbers of what Horus has got, this is not going to work. And Horus going to put a point up on the board, fighting back. And making this a series here. That means we're on match number 4. We're going to do this series. I'm going to take a very brief break after that, like a minute or two, and then we have one more afterwards. Araloo versus Marmu. Super hyped for that. And let's hop into game number 4 here. Alright, spawning in the right-hand side, we've got Horus. Their opponent to the left, the Child. Both players changing things up this time around. Both players opting for that boar, keeping the skunk, falcon, squirrel. Interesting call with the pigeons, though. The pigeons... The pigeons are neat, right? I mean, historically, yeah, you spam them with boar and badger, and that seems okay. But if you anticipate, like, okay, this might come down to, like, 4 skunk versus 4 skunk, you know, the player's got a couple pigeons to maybe help heal up their skunks. That could make a pretty significant difference. I'm curious if that'll play a role this match. Big maps, and a map that kind of favors Horus here. You know, the Child does get that second base, and kind of gets a third that's a little bit spread out, but I don't think that'll be a big deal. Horus doesn't have lizards or moles or anything like that, or even chameleon or snake to try to really take advantage of how spread out those bases are. Well, really, I mean, you can look at it like the Child's got like 4 mills here, you know. You'd probably go 1, 2, 3 up top. And yeah, upon further examination, I almost like this better for the Child. The Child, by the way, rushing again. And I think Horus should be okay. It's going to be close. These Warrens will take some hits. Maybe the Child gets a Warren. I think these squirrels might just come out in time. Oh, man, the Child's going to commit and is going to get that Warren. Going to lose a couple squirrels for it. But overall, I think that's fine for both sides, really. You know, yeah, it sucks losing that Warren, but Horus took the better trade and had the pigs out a little bit faster. And Horus going to go straight into skunk from here. If the Child really keeps this pressure on, let's see. Does the Child just keep massing lizards? No, going to go into Squizzard now. Maybe an expansion? Seems to be what he's got in store. And Horus gets away with the skunks, and the skunks are definitely going to help, but I kind of like the Squizzard versus just one set of skunks and the squirrels. But again, once Horus can get up to that second pair of skunks is where the compositional matchup starts to favor them. Child did make a big commitment to eco here. And did Horus get to scout it? Horus actually didn't. So Horus not exactly sure what's coming up, but gonna go for the boar. Alright, really fast tier 3 coming out here from Horus. And if the child scouts it, the child's got some good answers to try to deal with it. Oh my gosh, the child might actually just end up sniping the Warren. The child with a huge runaround. Horus does not know. The child's moving in. He's gonna see that boar Warren. He's gonna go after it immediately. Horus did sell it off for some change, but did not get the full refund. Oh my god, the child. Big plays coming out there. And now I feel like the child is very far ahead. They've already got the economy established. Just gotta keep massing tier 1 though. I don't know if this is the right approach moving forward, because this defense that Horus has set up with these supplemental turrets should be quite nice against this. And if Horus can get ahead in economy, that would be very great for him. Again, the child going for fast falcons. It's not something we typically see. But the lizard falcon composition is a little bit interesting to me because, you know, the lizards will do such a good job of getting in there, of tanking the damage, you know, kind of just being your general boots on the ground. And on paper, that does allow for the falcons to sit in the back line and get a lot of damage done. However, Horus, again, going for this tier 3. This time around, it's got a little bit more positional awareness here with the turrets. This is the only avenue to really sneak through. And if the child tried to do that again, the guns would start blazing. Child getting into their own boar. Horus getting a pretty okay scout here. Does see that the opponent is on 8 farm full saturation on that natural. Does not see the boar from the opponent though. The child has not scouted Horus's boar either. Decent money management here from Horus right when that boar warren is done. Very shortly after the 180 food was there to pay for it. And you know what? This is a relatively long window in tooth and tail time anyways for this boar. Horus's boar is about 20 to 30 seconds ahead of the child's. And if Horus can strike in... Oh, now Horus did Horus see the boar? Oh my god! Ugh. If Horus moves out immediately when the boar is done, maybe they can start the engagement before the child has their own board, but they have to go like right now. They cannot waste a single second. This board needs to be constantly moving across the board, but I don't think that's what Horus is going for. Horus instead gonna get that third base up and running, just kind of wants to have the board. Now the child has seen it, and since Horus did not attack immediately, the child's got their own boar up and running. But I like Horus's comp a little bit better for this board versus boar. The pigeon falcons are kind of here for the child, but that is a lot of lizards. The child needs to make sure not to lose all these lizards to the Big Daddy boar. They needs to wait till that boar is taken care of and then move in with the lizards. But Horus is not messing around. He's moving in on this very critical second base. It's going to go down immediately. And the child, a little bit of indecision there. It looked like they thought about going for the base race, but then says, no, I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to defend this. But the damage has already been dealt. Even if the child defends this, oh my gosh, all these lizards from the child just getting annihilated very quickly. And Horus even taking a strong engagement here. Like, the child needed to win that engagement in flying colors. And, well, I guess they kind of do. You know, lots of falcons still left over. The boar is still left over. And this is it for the child. He's got to move in right here, right now. Try to win the game immediately. But the thing is, the child is going to starve out. The child does not have money to take a mill. Going to move this over. I like this idea. You know, get to work on knocking out these bases, but these falcons are a little bit exposed. The child had to leave his army out here on the front line to just kind of deal with it and cross his fingers, but that is going to allow Horus to have the advantage of being able to target fire where the child could not. Horus did a good job of knocking out all the falcons. And oh man, such a close match, but the child will starve to death now. 100% confirmed. Does not have enough time to get another mill up and running. And, oh, they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait for the starvation. Yep, just gonna let the starvation happen. There it is. Actually losing from the lost condition. It's kind of similar in all RTS games, right? Like, most of the time, you tap out once it's like the point of no return. You can no longer really win from there. But the actual lost condition in Tooth and Tail is that you are not gathering resources for a full minute. Or you no longer have any grist mills or campfires on the map. Alright, we are down to the last match in this best of 5. Both series so far tonight, going all the way to game number 5. Always really hyped to see. And then after that, again, I will take just a very brief break. And then we will get into the Premier League match. Definitely don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss that one. I'm being OCD about this scoreboard. We do have great viewership tonight, so I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks again, as always. If you're not sure exactly what's going on here, we are doing a preseason cup for TnT Championship 2021. Just kind of a fun mini tournament, a reason to get guys and gals to get on the ladder and, you know, work out a little bit, keep their Tooth and Tail game strong, explore the new meta with the new patch. And we are kind of in a round robin between the 3 divisions, which will ultimately go to a standard bracket style tournament. And it's really fun. And if you want to get down on the next event, you will be able to sign up for TnT Championship 2021 in about a month or 2. And as always, I really need replays for my replay casting show. Please submit those to toothandtailtv@gmail.com. And I plan on normally I do that on Friday nights. I'm going to do it tomorrow night this week because I have plans on Friday and I don't want to just straight up skip it. So please don't delay. Submit your replays today so I have enough ammo for tomorrow. Yes, I want her to be cheesy and make that rhyme. Okay, let's go. Spawning on the right-hand side, we've got Horus the Holy. And their opponent to the left, the child. Here in the last match of the series, all the way to the best of 5. What are the decks that we got brought out here? Horus, champion of the ferrets. Ferret Master Horus here. Love to see it. 4 farm single from Horus here, but it's just a fake out into economy. You got to be careful when you do that sort of thing though, because if your opponent like responds with a 5 farm double and you go into 8 farms, and all of a sudden you can be the one who gets attacked, and you kind of played yourself, you know. But Horus is aware of this. He's just going to get up to 6 farm and then build a Warren. I love to see this little bit of maneuvering in the early game. It's really interesting. This is definitely the kind of map to do that sort of thing on, because the rush distances are so short that early pre-farm, pre-8 farm aggression can be quite effective. Gonna get this emergency turret up and running. I think it's in a good spot and nicely timed as well. Gonna get here right before the squirrels are able to deal with it. And this will allow Horus to save a little bit of money, only spending 60 food versus 120 food for a Warren and 3 squirrels. And try to get into... Oh, the child, what are you doing? Alright, snakes. Okay. I don't know why I got so excited as the food got up next to 180. I was like, is it board time? Or are we doing it? Specific time tomorrow. So I will be streaming tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST for my replay casting show. I typically have a ton of replays, and I still do from the old patch, but I am in need of replays. So please, everybody, submit them to toothandtailtv@gmail.com. This is a community-driven channel, community-driven show. Like, I literally don't have content if you guys aren't participating. So y'all are the real MVPs. Not me. I am just the guy yelling. All right, double skunk coming out here from Horus. Meanwhile, the child's got some quick snakes. Getting into some toads. I like this. With this high ground vision, the snake will be able to poke down this turret, no problem. I think 3 stacks is probably plenty, right? Yeah, looks like it. And these snakes should do a good job against the skunks on paper. We'll see how the engagements go down. You know, what you really want against snakes is just an overwhelming amount of tier 1. But with the toads here as well, the child is hoping to kind of delete the enemy tier 1 and leave these snakes alive to run rampant against the enemy skunks and pigs. Yeah, 2 pigs going down already and a skunk. Phenomenal here for the child. Horus realizes this is bad, wants to chase those snakes down, but smartly pulls back, and this is a rough spot. You know, do you commit to rebuilding these farms that are already kind of mined out? Do you cross your fingers and push in? Like, that wasn't a good trade specifically for Horus, and that's what makes this even more difficult. It's like one thing if, you know, you lose the pigs, but you've got some momentum because they lost their tier 2, or you traded really effectively with the tier 1. But I like this from Horus, getting into that second base. I think they're, you know, probably thinking about it like, well, if I'm going to commit to some more farms, I might as well put those on a fresh base. And the child actually going to show an expansion of their own. We are getting pretty close to that 5-minute mark, so it's like if you're not expanding by now, you're kind of sort of all-inning. Gonna try to punish these lizards, but doesn't quite have enough, or snakes rather, doesn't quite have enough lizards, but actually ends up picking one out. That's really important. But these toads, man, the Chad toads are coming up. Toad Magode here, 9 toads. Ready to explode. Looking for that connection and gonna run into almost everything there, leaving just the skunks alive, which in theory the snakes can help clean up, but Horus, actually with the defender's advantage, they're getting some units out. Oh man, that skunk almost lived. That would have been very, very big. But this is where having the double tier 2 is very difficult. In these follow-up engagements, you just don't have the tier 1 Warrens to very, very quickly reproduce an army. And these skunks are just going to be blocked for days. All the money is going to funnel into whatever tier 1 Warrens you do have. And the child just being an absolute bully of this game. Gonna run home, heal up the 1 snake that's left over. Probably wait a little bit for the second snake to come out. Maybe throw down another farm just to solidify things. No, he's not even gonna mess around. He's just gonna move in. He knows he's got a really big advantage here. Gonna push it, gonna come in for the killing blow. Dropping down the hammer, but Horus taps out before he gets the opportunity. And the child takes a very aggressive set, 3-2. We've seen a lot of aggression tonight.